the Raven Heights Radio Podcast. Get weird with us.
Hello.
Blah, blah.
You're listening to Raven Heights Radio, your favorite late night podcast, or morning podcast, or afternoon podcast, whenever you listen to our podcast.
Your favorite all-around podcast, or at least we hope.
And I'm Erica
And
Winter. Do I say my last name on here a lot? I forget.
Rarely. I'm the one that says your last name.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm the one that opens the show, generally. I have to say, hey, I'm Andrew Rosa, and here I have with me Erica Winter. I don't know why.
That's me.
I want you to sound like...
Erica Winter.
Yes.
And that's my dorky boyfriend.
Yes. See, there you go. Couldn't really endure this picture I decided to watch, only because the hype got the better of me. It's weird. We've talked about this like with the Marvel films. How so much hype surrounding these pictures, it kind of repulses us. And also, I think we're superheroed out because we get such a steady stream.
I still haven't watched Wonder Woman yet.
And that's DC, but yeah, we still haven't watched many of these big superhero spectacles. But mostly because of the hype. Because, like, Wonder Woman came out. Everyone gave it so much hype. Civil War had come out, and people gave that so much hype because Spider-Man was introduced and blah, blah, blah. And then we have fucking Black Panther. Everyone made a big thing about that. It's like hype generally turns me away, especially when it's the media. But here, there was this movie. If you're on Facebook, like, really, who the fuck isn't on Facebook that lives in a... Okay, there are exceptions. Admittedly, I probably wouldn't be on Facebook either if it weren't for the fact that I have a YouTube channel. But the thing is this. A lot of people were hyping up this fucking movie on Facebook called Veronica, which is a Spanish language horror film. And I'm like, alright, cool, but that sounds fine. I watch foreign cinema. I'm cool with that. But the thing is, everyone started saying that it was the scariest horror movie ever made, or it was the scariest in the last decades, the scariest since The Exorcist. I heard that one.
For the record, yeah, I didn't watch it last night, but I was going to watch it before we record, and I told you, yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch it today. I'll watch it tonight, and you said, don't bother.
Yeah, and I'll explain why. First of all, let me just give you the setup. The thing is, after all that hype, I sat down, I watched the movie, I was tired, I'm like, okay, I'll give this shit 20 minutes. If it doesn't hook me, I'll turn it off, which is my general rule of thumb. If you start watching a movie and the first act doesn't grab you, then you turn it the fuck off, save your time. Well, it did hook me. I was curious, because here's the thing. The story centers around a 15-year-old girl named Veronica, and she looks after practically raising her two younger sisters and her baby brother. And by baby, I mean very, very young. He can talk, he goes to school, but the thing is, baby brother. The reason why she practically raises these kids by herself is that her mother owns and operates a bar in town. So she's always working, and she tends to sleep through the day. That leaves Veronica the duty of getting the kids fed and getting them to school. And where's the father, you ask? Well, the father died. It's not really explained how or why or when, really. But at some point, very early in the picture, Veronica decides she would like to try and commune with her father. And that's when she gets a Ouija board. And once you know it, she decides to do this with two of her friends. And it just so happens to be during an eclipse. And, you can pretty much guess the rest. The rest of the picture is her dealing with an entity of sorts that terrorizes her and her siblings. And she has to try and figure out what the hell she did. And this all takes place over the course of, 3 days. They even managed to work in Friday the 13th, which I found amusing. But here's the thing. It hooked me. I'll give it that. It's very well shot. It's well edited. I love the score. It's great. And the soundtrack itself, which has some kind kind of Spanish rock tunes. That's pretty good.
As I was falling asleep last night, I'm like, I like that music.
Yeah, that band is to that film, Veronica, what basically Remy Zero was to Smallville. It's
No, Lifehouse.
no Remy Zero, because they have the title track. And
Well, I was thinking Lifehouse only because they keep coming back. They even played The Prom.
but anyway,
We're not talking about Smallville today.
No, not today. But anyway, so and the acting is good. The acting is very good. I appreciate so often little kids in these pictures. If it had been made in America, the kids would be extraordinarily annoying, I feel. So often kids are so fucking annoying in movies. But these ones, they were just kids. And that was nice. And the lead, Veronica, the girl who plays Veronica, I forget the actress's name.
Sandra. Sorry, I'm IMDb while we're talking.
But she is very, very good. She did a great job. She actually looks 15. I appreciate that they ignored an opportunity to sexualize her, as so often they do in horror pictures.
Sandra Escacina is her name.
No, pretty name. But the thing is that, so if this had been an American movie, there would have been at least one scene where she's in the shower or running around the house. What you're
saying is that all of the children and teenagers in this film were actually age appropriate?
Yeah. Age appropriate.
And the teenagers weren't like 25?
Yeah. You mean like Scream?
Yes, exactly like Scream.
Yeah. Where Randy looks like he's 35.
Not to shit on Scream, I love that
series,
too.
But here's the thing though. As good as that is. Oh, and I'll give the director this, the mood, the build up, the tension build up. Basically, okay, if we were to equate horror films to sex, the foreplay is great. You know, like the foreplay is really, really good. It feels very traditional but exciting. The mood is right. It knows where to touch you, when to touch you, but the payoff is so sad.
No, that's another band name. The Traditional Foreplays.
Well, it's traditional in that the style is traditional in how it builds up. Like the sort of shots it uses, the sort of scares that it goes for. It feels very traditional in that sense, which is, welcome. It's classic. But they don't take it anywhere new at all. Do you know what it starts to remind me of with the payoff?
It Follows?
Yes. No, like exactly like It Follows.
Oh, that's what I was afraid of.
Yeah, and you know what? Stylistically, it isn't that dissimilar. It does have a very old school feel to it, as if it took more of its cues from filmmakers like John Carpenter.
At least the score didn't rip him off.
Not really, no. If anything, I felt like it ripped off spaghetti westerns.
Weird.
The whistling. Though it also reminds me of... There's a whistle cue throughout where it's like... Yeah, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not it's not that dissimilar from something like April Fool's Day. You remember the whistle motif? Mm-hmm. It's very similar to that.
Well, apparently it was nominated for Best Original Screenplay.
It's not original in the slightest, and that is insulting.
It won Best Editing, which from the 5 minutes I watched before I fell asleep, I'm like, okay.
Okay, first of all, here's my next big problem with the movie, and it kind of correlates to the scares and how cliche they are. The plot itself is very cliche. I know a lot of people say, oh, well, it's inspired by... Or no, they say it's based on a true story. First of all, that's not entirely true. It's inspired by a true story, which is a stranger's cop-out, if you ask me. It may have been inspired by a similar experience, but the thing is that the little girl, and I remember in the story, the true story, it was a girl trying to commune with her boyfriend who had died in a motorcycle accident. It wasn't a girl trying to commune with her dead father. Already they've taken some liberties, and from what I understand, there was no mention made of a fucking eclipse happening. And here's the thing. I've already seen too many fucking movies with a Ouija board.
Especially lately.
Yeah. And now, don't get me wrong.
The Ouija experiment.
I will give a pass to Ouija's sequel, prequel.
Oh yeah, it was better.
That was way better. But it actually knew how to give you the foreplay as well as the roll in the hay that you want. But unfortunately, Veronica really didn't do that, which is kind of shitty considering you do have a strong cast. You do have some good characters that are interesting. And it did hold my interest because the setup was good. I mean, it was nothing new, but it was done well. And I was just hoping that maybe the payoff would be a bit better. And really it wasn't. I thought the Conjuring movies were scarier. Not that they really scare me that much these days, because mostly those are boo machines. And I like boo machines. That's another thing. And I do appreciate, though, it did keep the boos to a minimum. It didn't have too many jump scares. But the thing is...
That's rare now.
Well, what I don't like especially are false jump scares. Or jump scares that don't make sense. No, like, there's no way that person could have been startled because they would have seen them, that sort of thing. Because your mind can read that shit pretty fast. So you're not...
More than what's just presented in the frame.
Exactly. But I'll give you an example of how the movie kind of lacked originality here. There's a sequence where the Veronica gets really startled, like the shadowy figure that she's kind of set loose or released from the board. It kind of manifests itself as a shadowy figure, and it looks as if it was trying to attack the two siblings, which is a cool sequence, but it's not scary at all. Veronica goes apeshit and says, "Okay, kids, grab all your beds. We're going to be sleeping in the living room tonight." So she gets them all together, and this actually plays into me liking her character a lot more. That's why I say I actually really like the characters, and there's some good stuff. But here's the thing. They're all in the living room. Some spooky shit starts to happen. Veronica gets up to investigate, which I get. She's wanting to keep the children safe. As far as she knows, the children are in danger. She needs to protect them. Yeah, she's basically the mom here. And that's great. But here's the thing. She sees the shadowy figure. She's like, oh my God. She sees it through a window on the other side of the house. So she's tracking that shadow up until it gets to the door leading to the living room. And the core of this door is actually a pane of glass, but it's diffused. So all you can see is a shadowy figure. And the thing is that I sat there, and the moment I saw it, and she grabs this cross, and she's like, oh, holding it up. I'm just sitting there going, it's the mom. And then you see the doorknob start to turn, cuts to the girl, and the door cuts back, and the shadowy figure has shifted to be the size and shape of her mother. I'm like, duh. It was so
That's the worst where you can predict it.
What I would have loved if they had actually done this instead, where the door opens, you can still see the diffused shadow in the glass, but when you actually see through the door, nothing's there. Just to kind of throw you off. Like, wait, what the fuck? I can see it through the glass, but not with my own naked eyes. That I would have been something a little different. I don't know if it would have startled, but it would have been different.
Would you recommend it or not?
Not really. I mean, it's okay. I don't know. I feel personally, I found it more irritating because it has all the essential ingredients, but ultimately the final flavor wasn't worth revisiting. So it's, if you're really, really fucking curious, go ahead. But honestly, I think there are better ways to spend your time. It's just a lot of hype. On Facebook, it's hype. It's an okay movie, and if you don't want to take my word for it, definitely give it a try, but don't go in expecting the scariest picture ever unless you've never seen a horror film. Ever.
Well, on that note, make your own decision. Let us know what you think via Twitter or Facebook. And we'll be back next week.
Yay!